Hey, what's up, everybody? My name is Anton Zachor, and this is the Anton Analysis. And today we're going to be checking out a clip from the recent Mark Zuckerberg and Joe Rogan podcast on Mark Zuckerberg on ending fact checking and being pressured by the Biden administration, which I'm assuming is what happened during COVID, because that's when a lot of the censorship and the fact checking was occurring. So yeah, let's get into Mark Zuckerberg and Joe Rogan.
The Joe Rogan Experience.
I was really worried from the beginning about basically becoming this sort of decider of what is true in the world, right? That's like kind of a crazy position to be in for billions of people using your service. And so we tried to put in place a system that would deal with it. And early on tried to basically make it so that it was really limited. We're like, all right, we're just going to have this system where there's these third-party fact checkers and they can check the worst of the worst stuff, right? So things that are very clear hoaxes, that there's like, it's not like we're not parsing speech about whether something is slightly true or slightly false, like Earth is flat, things like that, right? So that was sort of the original intent. We put in place the system and it just sort of veered from there. I think to some degree, it's because some of the people whose job is to do fact checking, a lot of their industry is focused on political fact checking. So they just kind of veered in that direction. And we kept on trying to basically get it to be what we had originally intended, which is just, it's not, the point isn't to like judge people's opinions. It's to provide this layer to kind of help fact check some of the stuff.
So I'm going to pause it here just because, this is interesting. So there's going to be a lot of people that are going to think that Mark is just bullshitting right now. That like he knew what he was doing, that he has his own political agenda, or he's just a pushover, and he just wants government money, or he wants to get in bed with. Because I think it came out the CIA was in bed with Facebook. Might not be the right terminology, but some 3-letter agency had very close ties with Facebook. And a lot of people that are very skeptical and very cynical of Mark Zuckerberg will definitely say like, he never had any good intentions, or at least he hasn't had any good intentions for a long, long time. I definitely fell in that camp previously, for sure. Like I really didn't like Mark Zuckerberg. And even right now, I think I'm opening my mind to Mark just because I believe in redemption. I believe in second chances. I believe that good people make mistakes. I believe that greed is corrupting. I've seen myself become greedy. I've seen myself want to take shortcuts. And the reason why I'm saying all of that is fundamentally, I know deep down I'm a good person. I know I have good intentions, but I've made a lot of mistakes. And again, though, like I know I'm a good person. And Mark is a human being. Yeah, it's like he has all of this unhealed trauma, and he's a human being, and then he's pressured by Facebook becomes massive, and he, as it's come out, even being pressured by the Biden administration. He was probably pressured by previous administrations and agencies before that as well. And I'm not letting him off the hook. I'm just seeing that there is a real easy way to see why he could make really bad mistakes. And people might be like, well, he should have principles. He should have integrity. He should have a stronger code of ethics. And it's like, sure, ideally, yes. But how many people have that strong ethics and ideals? Like how many people truly have unwavering morals and ethics? Like literally, I'd even say actually any of you watching this video, type out 5 people in the world that you think have unwavering morals and ethics. And again, how old is Mark, right? Like young. And so, and he got famous and he created Facebook when he was very young. I don't know his exact age. Actually, you know what? Let's take a break here. I'm going to actually figure out when he got big. Okay, so we just figured out. So he was 20. He was born in 1984. Facebook came out in 2004. He was 20 years old when Facebook came out. And it's like the pressure that dude's under, unimaginable. Again, as he'll likely get more into in this video, he's probably going to talk about some of the mistakes he's made. But I am all for second chances. I'm all for redemption. And I think a lot of the time, if you really want these people to be better and to make better decisions, I think you have to have compassion for them. And I think you have to show them friendship. And I think this is why I'm such a huge fan of Lex Friedman and his friendship with Mark Zuckerberg and Elon Musk. But really, Mark in general, because I think that Lex is such a beautifully open-hearted individual. I love Lex. And he probably still makes mistakes too, but like, you can feel Lex's heart. He's a wonderful human being. I think if anyone is really going to potentially change Mark and show him love, compassion, kindness, and true friendship, and isn't going to just throw his friend away when he makes mistakes, I think that's Lex. And I think that if Mark is actually having a change of heart and seeing some of the error of his ways and not wanting to be a political prisoner, where he feels he doesn't want to anymore be controlled by government institutions, this could all be a publicity stunt. This could all be, hey, Trump won, Elon won, I'm on the wrong side, I've been teaming with the liberals, the Democrats. Now it's time to jump ship, become more conservative. Maybe. And there's a strong chance that's the case. And also, that can be the case while also seeing the error of your ways and having a change of heart. All those things can be true. You can actually grow as a human being and at the same time still have desires and greed and wanting to be on the right side of history. All those things can be true at the same time. I don't think we need to say like, oh, it's all or nothing. He's either being a better person and only wanting to be a better person, or he's only wanting to be on the right side of history on this, or be on the winning team. So yeah, that's all to say. I just like any human being, I'm hoping Mark is growing. Yeah, I'm really hoping he's growing. But let's get back into it.
Kind of veered in that direction, and we kept on trying to basically get it to be what we had originally intended, which is just, it's not, the point isn't to like judge people's opinions. It's to provide in this layer to kind of help fact check some of the stuff that seems the most extreme, but it just, it was just never accepted by people broadly. I think people just felt like the fact checkers were too biased. Mm-hmm. Not necessarily even so much in what they ruled, although sometimes I think people would disagree with that. A lot of the time, it was just what types of things they chose to even go and fact check in the first place. So, I kind of think like after having gone through that whole exercise, it I don't know, it's something out of like 1984, one of these books where it's just like it really is a slippery slope, and it just got to a point where it's just okay, this is destroying so much trust, especially in the United States, to have this program. Yeah. And I guess it was probably about a few years that I really started coming to the conclusion that we were going to need to change something about that. COVID was the other big one, where that was also very tricky because, at the beginning it was, it's like a legitimate public health crisis, in the beginning. And it's, even people who are like the most ardent First Amendment, defenders, the Supreme Court has this clear precedent that's like, all right, you can't yell fire in a crowded theater. There are times when if there's an emergency, your ability to speak can temporarily be curtailed in order to get an emergency under control. So I was sympathetic to that at the beginning of COVID. It seemed like, okay, you have this virus. It seems like it's killing a lot of people. I don't know, like we didn't know at the time how dangerous it was going to be. So at the beginning, it kind of seemed like, okay, we should give a little bit of deference to the government and the health authorities on how we should play this. But when it went from, 2 weeks to flatten the curve to, and like in the beginning, it was like, okay, there aren't enough masks. Masks aren't that important. To then it's like, oh no, you have to wear a mask. And, all the, like everything was shifting around. It just became very difficult to kind of follow. And this really hit the most extreme, I'd say during the Biden administration when they were trying to roll out the vaccine program. And Now, I'm generally like pretty pro rolling out vaccines. I think on balance, the vaccines are more positive than negative. But I think that while they're trying to push that program, they also tried to censor anyone who is basically arguing against it. And they pushed us super hard to take down things that were honestly were true, right? I mean, they basically pushed us and said, anything that says that vaccines might have side effects, you basically need to take down. And I was just like, well, we're not going to do that. Like, we're clearly not going to do that. I mean, that is kind of inarguably true.
Who is they? Who's telling you to take down?
One thing I'm hoping that there's actually evidence of him saying we're not going to do that, because obviously after the fact, it's really easy for him to get on this podcast and go, hey, they told me to do this thing and I didn't want to do it, right? I'm curious if there's actual evidence for that. And if any of you guys know of evidence, please post it down below, because I actually want to check that out. Because, yeah, I don't know. Like, it's hard to verify if this is true unless there's evidence of him legitimately through emails or video or something showing evidence that he actually tried to withstand the pressure. Because even, like, let's say this is true and he actually said, hey, I don't want to do that. That says a lot about his character right there, that he's like, okay, like, I am pro-vaccine, but I still don't think it's right to censor information about the side effects of vaccines when the information is actually true, even if it makes increases vaccine hesitancy.
Yeah. It's just a massive overstepping. This is the thing about all of this. It's like they suppressed so much information about things that people should be doing, regardless of whether or not you believe in the vaccine. Regardless, put that aside. Metabolic health is of the utmost importance in your everyday life, whether there's a pandemic or there's not. And there's a lot of things that you can do that can help you recover from illness. It prevents illnesses. It makes your body more robust and healthy. It strengthens your immune system. And they were suppressing all that information. And that's just crazy. You can't say you're one of the good guys if you're suppressing information that would help people recover from all kinds of diseases, not just COVID, the flu, common cold, all sorts of different things, high doses of vitamin C, D3 with K2 and magnesium. They were suppressing this stuff because they didn't want people to think that you could get away with not taking a vaccine, which is really crazy when you're talking about something that 99.07% of people survive. This is a crazy overstep, but scared the shit out of a lot of people. Red-pilled, as it were, a lot of people, because they realized, like, oh, 1984 is like an instruction manual. I mean, it's like it shows you how things can go that way with wrong speak and with bizarre distortion of facts. And when it comes down to it, in today's day and age, the way people get information is through your platform, through X. This is how people are getting information. They're getting information from YouTube. They're getting information from a bunch of different sources now. And you can't censor that if it's real legitimate information because it's not ideologically convenient for you.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's basically the journey that I've been on, right? Started off very pro free speech, free expression. And then over the last 10 years, there have been these two big episodes. It was the Trump election and the aftermath, where I feel like in retrospect, I deferred too much to the kind of critique of the media on what we should do. And since then, I think generally trust in media has fallen off a cliff, right? So I don't think I'm alone in that journey. I think that's basically the experience that a lot of people have had is, okay, it's the stuff that's being written about is not kind of all accurate. And even if the facts are right, it's kind of written from a slant a lot of the time.
Of course.
And then there was the government version of it, which is during COVID, which is, okay, like, it's like our government is telling us that we need to censor true things. It's like, this is a disaster. Or just how the government's dealt with COVID seems to have had this effect that's global, not just the U.S., but like a very broad decrease in trust, at least in that set of incumbents and maybe in sort of these democratic institutions overall.
Yeah, that's what I noticed is like COVID was like a huge wake-up call for so many people, where like there were people, a lot of people I knew I wouldn't say a lot actually, but there are definitely a handful of people I knew that were like very pro-government, you could say, before COVID. And then a lot of the measures that happened during COVID really, as I forget if it was Mark or Joe that just mentioned it, but like a lot of people just like questioning like, oh, will the I didn't know the government would go to those measures over, like, let's say vaccines, like, because yeah, that was very interesting.
I think that what you're saying of, how do people get their information now? It's by sharing it online on social media. I think that that's just increasingly true. And my view at this point is like, all right, like we started off focused on free expression. We kind of had this pressure tested over the last period. I feel like I just have a much greater command now of what I think the policies should be. And like, this is how it's going to be going forward. And so I mean, at this point, I think a lot of people look at this as like a purely political thing. It's because
that's my question.
They kind of look at the timing and they're like, hey, well, you're doing this right after the election. It's like, okay, I try not to like change our content rules like right in the middle of an election either, right? It's like there's not like a great time to do this. It's
right.
And
you want to do it a year later.
Yeah, it's like there's no good time to do it. There's,
right.
And whatever time is going on, there's going to be, so. The good thing about doing it after the election is you get to take this kind of cultural pulse as like, okay, where are people right now, and how are people thinking about it? We try to have policies that reflect.
He's a businessman too,
mainstream discourse. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. This is something I've been thinking about for a while. I think that this is going to be pretty durable because at this point we've just been pressure tested on this stuff for like the last 8 to 10 years with like these huge institutions just pressuring us and I feel like this is kind of the right place to be going forward.
What was it like when they were attacking you? Like, first of all, what was the premise? Like, what were they saying was your offense? Was it that you were allowing information that was not true, that was getting out there? I know there was also, they're saying that you guys were allowing hate groups to speak. There was a lot of this.
Yeah. I mean, the tough thing with politics is that there's like, well, when you say someone's coming after you, are you referring to kind of the government and investigations and all that? I mean, so the issue is that there's what specific thing an agency might be looking into you for, and then there's like the underlying political motivation, which is like, why do the people who are running this thing hate you? And I think that those can often be two very different things.
All right, so I want to believe him. Like, and we will see over the next 4, 8, 12 years what Mark Zuckerberg, like, if he will walk his walk. And also I get it's like people change, people evolve. He might even literally in 4 years have a different perspective than he does now. It's like, this is the perspective that I agree with personally, but that doesn't mean it's objectively the right one. Again, I think it is, but that's just me. I'm not going to be arrogant and say it's 100%. Like, maybe there's something I don't know, right? Or I haven't looked at it from certain other perspectives. But it does seem very opportunistic, the timing, right after the election, right after Trump wins. Again, like I said, just like him coming out and now kind of taking more of a what is becoming more of like a Republican or more of a conservative stance. But hey, man, like, you don't know. And anyone that says, hey, he's full of shit, he's lying, or that he's an opportunist, it's like, okay, prove it. If you can prove it, sure, I'll believe you. But if you can't prove it, then you're also just making you're just saying what you want him to burn. You hate him, right? I guess it's easy when you hate somebody to go, oh yeah, he's just full of shit, he's just lying. It's like, yeah, unless you can prove it, let's just give him the benefit of the doubt. Let's give him the opportunity to grow, change. And like you said, like, he's been battle tested over 8 to 10 years. He's I do want to see some of those emails to see if did he actually stand up to those agencies that were telling him to censor the vaccine information. Because yeah, man, I'm just the kind of person, I want to believe people. At the end of the day, I just want to believe people. I believe people grow. I think they change. I think they can heal. I think compassion and friendship can change people. And seeing Lex's compassion and friendship with Mark, I think could actually be something that could change somebody's life. I think that, you are the 5 people you hang out with the most, right? That old idea. So it's like, yeah, I think it would be naive to discount the impact of friendship on somebody's growth, especially like, let's say the older Mark maybe didn't have many friends, was still, feeling all of that anger towards, humanity, you could say. I'm now creating something that might not be true, but that's currently how I see it. Is when somebody is in that position and very young, again, he created Facebook when he was 20, you're very open to pressure. And when you have nothing that you're really like truly fighting for, if someone says like, hey, we'll pay you money if you turn against these people. If you don't have any allegiance to those people, then it's easy to take the money. But if you feel a sense of camaraderie and kinship with those same people, it's harder for you to take the money. It's harder to be greedy. And so now, like, let's say like him and Lex Friedman are becoming friends. Lex might be opening Mark's eyes to another way to view people. You can be like part of people. You can be part of society. You can be part of a new community. That might give Mark something to fight for, something to believe in. Yeah, if he didn't have any community before that, if he just had a community of people that he wasn't emotionally close with, it's much easier to make mistakes. So yeah, I'm until I have evidence on the contrary, I'm going to choose to believe that he's grown as a human being. But that, everybody, that is the episode for today. So if you guys enjoyed, or actually, first of all, what are your thoughts on this entire situation? What are your thoughts on fact checking? Are you for it? Are you against it? Do you feel like it needs to be less politically biased? What do you think of some of the oversights and regulations we can have to make it better? And what do you think about Mark Zuckerberg? Do you think he is actually changed his perspective on these things, or do you think he's just being opportunistic? So yeah, let me know down below what your thoughts on this entire situation are. And if you guys enjoyed this video, definitely leave a like. It helps me and it helps the channel. And also, if you enjoy what we're doing here on the channel with all the music reactions, the podcast clip reactions, and the podcast that is going to be coming back up. If you're interested in all that kind of stuff, definitely subscribe and stay tuned. And also, if you want any of my links for social media, our membership community and exclusive content, hundreds of exclusive reactions, more than 100 exclusive podcasts, you can find links to all of those down below. And that's it. So see all of you in the next one. I love you guys. Bye.